Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, coin collectors, history lovers, and everyone curious about the hidden treasures lying unnoticed in everyday change. If you've ever walked past a penny on the ground and thought, it's just a cent, today's video might make you think twice. Because we're about to take a deep dive into one of the most iconic and potentially valuable coins ever minted in the United States, the Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1953. Now, don't let its humble appearance fool you. The 1953 wheat penny may look like just another old coin, but in certain cases, it could be worth far more than its face value. So much more, in fact, that by the time we reach the end of this video, you'll be asking yourself, do I have one of these tucked away somewhere? You won't want to miss the jaw-dropping value reveal at the end, trust me. Let's rewind the clock to 1953. Post-war America was thriving. Dwight D. Eisenhower was president. Televisions were starting to appear in every home, and the country was entering an era of optimism and innovation. But while major events shaped the world stage, a quiet revolution was continuing in people's pockets, in the form of a small, copper coin. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, this 1-cent piece, has a legacy that reaches back to 1909, when it was introduced to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. It became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and what better choice than the beloved 16th president? The coin's design remained largely unchanged for decades, until the reverse design eventually shifted in 1959. But between those years, the wheat back became a beloved icon among collectors. So what makes the 1953 version of the Lincoln Wheat Penny stand out in particular? For starters, 1953 wheat pennies were minted at 3 different U.S. mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You can identify the mint location by looking just under the date on the front of the coin. If there's no letter, it was struck in Philadelphia. A small d means it came from Denver, and an S stands for San Francisco. Each mint mark tells a different story, and collectors know that some of these are much rarer than others, especially in high-grade conditions. Let's talk about the design, because this little coin is packed with detail and symbolism. On the front, or obverse, you'll find the stoic profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust," arc gracefully, a national motto and a nod to America's enduring faith. To his left, the word "liberty" appears, a concept Lincoln himself fought to preserve. The date, 1953, is struck clearly, often accompanied by the mint mark. It's a simple design, but one with powerful meaning. Flip the coin over and you're greeted with 2 stalks of wheat, one on each side, framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. Above that is the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. It's a poetic reminder of how a country made up of so many different people can unite under one flag. And that's what makes the wheat penny more than just a coin. It's a small, metal symbol of American identity. Now, here's where things start to get really interesting and valuable. The value of a 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny depends on several factors, including its condition, rarity, mint mark, and any potential errors during production. Most coins from this era were heavily circulated, meaning they were passed from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, collecting scratches, nicks, and wear along the way. That kind of circulation lowers their collector value. But if you happen to find a 1953 penny in uncirculated or near mint condition, meaning it looks almost exactly the way it did when it left the mint, then you're holding something special. Even more exciting? Some 1953 wheat pennies have minting errors that make them incredibly rare. We're talking about double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and more. These are the kinds of mistakes that only happen a handful of times and are instantly sought after by serious collectors. Imagine owning a penny that has the S mint mark from San Francisco, but it was accidentally struck slightly off-center. Or maybe the date was doubled during the minting process, creating a ghost-like image beneath the main numbers. These subtle flaws may seem small to the untrained eye, but to numismatists, that is, coin experts, they're golden opportunities. And just when you think it can't get better, here's the real kicker: some coins from 1953, particularly those struck with rare errors or preserved in absolutely flawless condition, have stunned collectors with their auction prices. These aren't just coins that go for $10 or $100, they're coins that command serious attention in the rare coin world. You may be thinking, okay, but how much could a penny really be worth? Well, hold on to your seats, because this is the moment you've been waiting for. A verified, professionally graded, 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny, one with the right combination of rarity, perfection, and error, has been known to reach a jaw-dropping value of $88,000. That's right. $88,000, from 1 cent to nearly 6 figures, all because of a little copper coin that most people wouldn't look at twice. This is why coin collecting is so much more than a hobby. It's a thrilling hunt for history, mystery, and in some cases, treasure. And the best part? These coins are still out there. In jars, drawers, old piggy banks, and collections passed down through generations. One of them might even be in your pocket right now. So if you've got a stash of old coins at home, it might be time to take a closer look. That beat-up penny you've had for years could be the key to unlocking something truly extraordinary. Today, we're about to uncover the mystery behind one of the most intriguing pennies ever minted in the United States, the Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1944. At first glance, it's easy to overlook this coin. It's just a penny, right? A single cent that's been passed through countless hands, forgotten in dusty drawers, and left to tarnish in old piggy banks. But what if I told you that a 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny could hold a secret, one that could turn that ordinary copper coin into something truly extraordinary? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see how one version of this little coin has stunned collectors with its rarity, mystery, and an unbelievable value that could change your entire perspective on pocket change. Let's start by stepping back into history. The year was 1944. World War II was still raging across Europe and the Pacific. American factories were working day and night, producing weapons, tanks, aircraft, and supplies. The entire nation had come together in a shared effort of sacrifice and resilience. Even the U.S. Mint was part of the war effort. In 1943, just a year earlier, something unusual happened. The Mint temporarily stopped making pennies out of copper. Why? Because copper was needed for ammunition and electrical wiring for the military. Instead, they produced pennies from steel coated in zinc. These shiny, silver-like pennies looked totally different, and while they served their purpose, they quickly developed problems like rusting and confusion with dimes. So in 1944, the U.S. Mint returned to the traditional copper alloy, melting down used shell casings from the battlefield to produce the new wheat pennies. It was a patriotic gesture, wartime ammunition transformed into money for the American people. And so, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny became a symbol of homecoming, resilience, and hope for a nation longing for peace. Now let's talk design. On the front side of the coin, you'll find the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, sharp and steady. Above his head reads the words, "In God We Trust." To his left, liberty is stamped with confidence. To his right, the date, 1944, clear and bold. Beneath that date, you may notice a tiny letter. This is where the mystery begins. That little mint mark tells us which U.S. Mint facility produced the coin. If there's no letter, it came from Philadelphia. A small d means it was minted in Denver. An S stands for San Francisco. Each mint produced millions of these coins, but here's the thing, not all 1944 wheat pennies were created equal. On the reverse side of the coin, you'll find two elegant wheat stalks curling along the edges, framing the large words, 1 cent and United States of America. Just above it all, the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. It's a design that speaks to unity and strength, and for collectors, it holds deep symbolism and nostalgia. But here's where things get fascinating. Most 1944 Lincoln Wheat Pennies were made from that copper alloy we mentioned earlier, about 95% copper and 5% zinc. But every once in a while, something strange slipped through the cracks at the mint. In rare cases, a 1944 penny was accidentally struck using leftover steel blanks from the previous year. Imagine that. A 1944 penny that looks like a 1943 one, made of steel, not copper. These accidental coins are called transitional errors, and they are incredibly rare. It's believed that only a handful of these steel 1944 pennies exist, and finding one is like discovering buried treasure, and that's not the only kind of rare 1944 penny out there. There are also examples with doubled dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, and even coins that were struck on foreign planchets, the metal discs used to make coins. Some 1944 pennies were mistakenly struck on silver-colored blanks meant for dimes or foreign currency. These are the kinds of errors that send collectors into a frenzy. Now, you might be wondering, how can you tell if your 1944 penny is special? The first thing to check is the weight. A normal 1944 copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. But if your coin is noticeably lighter, it might be made of steel. You can also test it with a magnet. Copper isn't magnetic, but steel is. So if your 1944 penny sticks to a magnet, you could be holding something unbelievably rare. But even among the copper versions, condition matters more than most people realize. Coins that are uncirculated, meaning they were never used in daily transactions, are far more valuable than those with scratches, wear, or damage. A coin graded as MS67 or Mint State 67 can shine with an almost flawless surface, perfect edges, and brilliant luster. These are the coins that auction houses dream about, and while millions of 1944 pennies were made, only a tiny fraction still survive in near-perfect condition. Even fewer have those rare errors or unusual features that make them stand out from the rest. So let's bring it all together. You've got a coin minted in a time of global conflict, using repurposed wartime materials. A coin that may carry a rare mistake, a tiny error that turned it from common currency into a collector's prize. A coin that tells a story, of history, of craftsmanship, and of the unexpected value hiding in the simplest of objects. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, a single Lincoln Wheat penny from 1944, if it was struck in steel by mistake, or if it carries one of those rare and highly sought-after minting errors, and especially if it has been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, has been known to sell to collectors and investors alike for an astonishing amount of money. Yes, one of these remarkable little coins has reached the incredible value of $85,000. $85,000. For a single penny. That's the magic of numismatics, the world of rare coin collecting. It's a world where history, rarity, and condition combine to turn copper into gold. So the next time you come across an old penny, take a closer look. You never know what kind of hidden treasure might be waiting for you. Today's video might change your mind forever. Because what if that little coin, small enough to fall between the couch cushions or hide under your car seat, was actually worth thousands? Even tens of thousands. That's not a fantasy. That's the world of rare coins, where forgotten pieces of copper can turn into treasures. And today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating pieces of American coinage, the 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Now, don't be fooled by how common this coin may seem. Millions were made, sure, but only a tiny fraction hold the kind of value that will absolutely blow your mind. And if you have one of the rare versions of this penny hiding in a jar or old collection, you might be sitting on something life-changing. So buckle up, because we're about to explore what makes the 1949 Lincoln cent so special, why collectors are obsessed with it, what hidden details you need to look out for, and finally, we'll reveal just how much the rarest of them all has sold for. You don't want to miss that part. Let's start with the setting. The year was 1949. America was in a post-war boom. World War II had ended just a few years earlier, and the country was rebuilding, reimagining, and racing forward. Television was becoming mainstream, suburbs were growing, and a baby boom was underway. People were hopeful, optimistic, and spending more money than ever. In the middle of all this change, the U.S. Mint continued doing what it had been doing for decades, producing the country's currency. Among the coins struck that year was the humble Lincoln Wheat Penny. The Lincoln cent had already become a classic. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. On one side, the dignified profile of Lincoln, facing right. On the reverse, two sheaves of wheat gracefully curving along the edge, with 1 cent and United States of America proudly inscribed in the center. Above it all, the timeless Latin motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Now, 1949 wheat pennies were minted at 3 different locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If you look just below the date on your penny, you may see a small letter. No letter? That means it was struck in Philadelphia. A tiny D means it came from the Denver Mint, and an S signifies it was minted in San Francisco. Each mint produced different quantities, and each had its own quirks. But what really gets collectors excited isn't just where the coin came from, it's how it was made, what condition it's in, and whether it carries a hidden secret. Let's talk about condition first. Most pennies you find in circulation are pretty beat up. They've been tossed in pockets, dropped on sidewalks, rubbed smooth by decades of wear. But the ones collectors are really after are those in pristine condition, uncirculated coins that still have their original shine, sharp details, and zero damage. These coins are rare because most people just didn't save their pocket change in mint condition. Even more exciting are the mint errors. Now, minting errors are like accidental birthmarks on a coin. They happen when something goes wrong during the production process. Maybe the coin was struck off-center, or the die used to stamp the coin was slightly misaligned. Maybe there was a doubling of the design, what's called a double die, or the wrong planchet was used entirely. Yes, believe it or not, some 1949 Lincoln Wheat Pennies were accidentally struck on blanks meant for foreign coins, like dimes or even silver-colored planchets. These types of errors are incredibly rare, and incredibly valuable. Sometimes the only difference is a slight coloration, weight, or edge feature, but for those who know what to look for, the reward can be enormous. Take the repunched mint mark, for example. This happens when the small letter indicating the mint, like the S or D, was punched more than once and misaligned. You'd think such a small detail wouldn't matter, but in the collector world, these tiny variations can be everything. Even more, there are stories of 1949 pennies being struck with an overdate, where part of an earlier year is faintly visible beneath the 1949. These are the kinds of details you might miss with the naked eye, but with a magnifying glass, or better yet, a microscope, you start to see a whole new world. Then there's the weight test. Most 1949 pennies should weigh around 3.11 grams. But if you find one that's significantly lighter or heavier, it might be an error coin. If it sticks to a magnet, that's an immediate red flag, because copper isn't magnetic. These are quick tests anyone can do at home to begin identifying potential treasures. Collectors use grading systems to determine value, with MS or mint state grades indicating coins that are nearly flawless. A 1949 penny graded MS 67 or higher is an exceptional find. Combine that with a rare error or variant, and you've got something truly special. And here's the fun part, these coins are still out there. They're sitting in drawers, buried in old change jars, passed down in dusty boxes of inherited collectibles. Most people don't even know what they have. That's what makes this journey so exciting. Every old coin is a mystery waiting to be solved. So if you have a collection, or even a handful of coins from grandma's attic, it's worth taking a closer look. Examine the details. Look for oddities. Weigh them. Research the mint marks. You never know which one might turn out to be a sleeper hit. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. Among the 1949 Lincoln Wheat Pennies that have surfaced over the years, there's one variety, one combination of rare mint error and stunning, untouched condition, that has achieved legendary status in the collector world. This particular coin, authenticated and professionally graded, shocked the market when it sold. That coin, friends, reached the astounding value of $80,000. That's right, $80,000. For a single, 1-cent piece. A penny worth more than some cars, more than some college tuitions, more than most people ever imagine a coin could be worth. And the best part? It looked like just another old coin to anyone who didn't know better. So next time you see a penny lying around, don't ignore it. Examine it. Study it. You just might discover your own hidden fortune. Today's episode might just flip your entire perspective. Because we're diving deep into a coin that could be sitting in your pocket, hiding in your junk drawer, or resting quietly in an old jar of change. It's none other than the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Now before you roll your eyes and think, it's just another old penny, think again. This coin, this tiny copper artifact, holds more than just monetary value. It holds a piece of American history, a link to the past, and for a lucky few collectors, it holds something far more astonishing. Today, we're unlocking the mystery behind the 1950 wheat penny. We'll explore the design, the mints, the subtle variations, the rare errors that only a trained eye can catch, and how something so small can be worth so much. And yes, at the very end of this video, we'll reveal the jaw-dropping value one rare version of this coin has reached in the collector's market. You're going to want to hear that number, but first, let's rewind to the year 1950. It was a time of transition. World War II was in the rearview mirror, the Cold War was heating up, and the US was stepping confidently into a new era of growth and innovation. In homes across America, television sets were flickering to life. Cars had fins. Elvis hadn't yet hit the scene, but the American dream was very much alive. In the background of it all, the US Mint was busy striking the coins that would fuel daily commerce, and among them was the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This coin wasn't new in concept. In fact, it had already been in circulation for over 4 decades. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent became a staple of American currency. It was the first time a real person appeared on a circulating U.S. coin, and the choice of Lincoln, emblem of unity, courage, and leadership, made perfect sense. Flip over a 1950 wheat penny, and you'll see why collectors love this design. On the front, you'll find Lincoln's stately profile facing right, with the inscription, "In God We Trust," arcing above his head. To the left, the word Liberty. To the right, the year, 1950, crisp and clear. Just below that date, you may notice a small letter. This is where things start getting interesting. That little letter, either a D or an S, is the mint mark. If there's no letter at all, it means the coin was minted in Philadelphia. A D means it was struck in Denver. An S indicates it came from San Francisco. Each mint has its own story, and each produced different quantities of the penny in 1950. Now let's talk about the reverse side. The back of the coin features 2 iconic wheat stalks curving along the sides, hence the nickname Wheat Penny. In the center, the large words, 1 cent, stand proud, with United States of America right beneath. At the top, E pluribus unum. It's a design full of symbolism, growth, unity, strength, and it became one of the most beloved reverses in U.S. coin history. But here's what turns a coin from common to collectible: condition, rarity, and errors. You see, most people back then used their coins daily. A 1950 penny would have passed through countless hands, rubbed against other coins, dropped on sidewalks, tossed in drawers. All of that leaves marks, scratches, dings, discoloration. So finding one of these coins in pristine, uncirculated condition is already rare. A coin with no wear, bright original luster, and sharp details can be worth far more than its humble 1 cent face value. Then come the errors, the golden ticket of the coin world. Imagine this: a coin that looks normal at first glance but has a small flaw created during the minting process. These flaws make certain coins extremely rare, and therefore, highly valuable to collectors. Some 1950 wheat pennies were struck with double dies, meaning part of the design was stamped twice, creating a ghost-like effect on the lettering or Lincoln's profile. Others have off-center strikes, where the image is misaligned. There are also repunched mint marks, where the D or S was accidentally stamped more than once in slightly different positions. And then there's the holy grail: coin struck on the wrong planchet. A planchet is the blank piece of metal used to make a coin. In rare cases, pennies from 1950 were struck on planchets meant for dimes or foreign coins. These are easy to miss unless you weigh the coin or compare its size and color. But if you spot one, you could be looking at a coin that belongs in a museum, or a high-stakes auction. That it's also worth noting that quality grading matters a lot. Professional grading services use a scale from 1 to 70, with anything above 65 considered exceptional. A 1950 penny graded MS-66 or MS-67, especially with a rare error, instantly becomes a collector's dream. So what should you look for? First, examine the mint mark. Is it cleanly struck? Is it doubled? Is it in the correct position? Next, look closely at the lettering. Any signs of doubling, distortion, or unusual spacing could signal a valuable error. Check the coin's color. Is it the rich red copper of a freshly minted penny, or has it darkened over time? The redder and shinier it is, the higher its grade may be. And finally, don't overlook weight and magnetism. A standard 1950 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams and will not stick to a magnet. Any significant deviation could mean something special. The good news? These coins are still out there. They weren't made with precious metal, so people didn't hoard them like silver or gold coins. That means jars of old change, inherited collections, or even thrift store finds might still hold one of these elusive gems. And now, we've come to the part of the story you've been waiting for, the value. Among the many 1950 wheat pennies out there, a small handful have stunned the collector community with their combination of rare errors and flawless condition. These are coins that have been preserved against all odds, coins with mysterious traits that make them stand apart. And for one such coin, with the right combination of perfection, rarity, and historical charm, the value it achieved was nothing short of breathtaking. That one small cent, just an ordinary penny to most, was sold to a passionate collector for a staggering total of $88,500. Yes, you heard that right. $88,500, for a coin most people wouldn't bend over to pick up. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't ignore it. Inspect it. Research it. You might just be holding a piece of history, and a piece of hidden wealth. If you've got a jar of old coins sitting in your garage, basement, or tucked away in a drawer somewhere, you're going to want to grab it and take a closer look, because in this episode, we're diving into a small but mighty piece of American history, the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Now, at first glance, it may seem like just another old copper coin. A single cent. The kind of thing you barely notice at the bottom of your wallet. But here's the thing, sometimes, those everyday coins can hold the most incredible secrets. Sometimes, they turn out to be worth far more than anyone could have imagined. Today, we're uncovering everything you need to know about the 1957 wheat penny. From its historical background and stunning design, to mint mark mysteries, error coins, and collector values. And yes, at the very end, we'll reveal the jaw-dropping amount one of these tiny pennies sold for in the world of rare coin collecting. You won't want to miss it. So, let's rewind time and take a trip back to the United States in 1957. It was the height of the post-war boom. Families were moving to the suburbs, rock and roll was sweeping the nation, and America was preparing to launch into the space race. In the midst of all that excitement, people were going about their daily lives, buying milk for 22 cents a gallon, going to the movies for a quarter, and using pennies without a second thought. And yet, one of those pennies, the one we're talking about today, would one day rise above the rest. Not because it was made of gold or silver. Not because it was big or shiny or rare at the time. But because of the story it carries, the condition it survived in, and the tiny imperfections that would eventually make it priceless to the right collector. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny belongs to the iconic wheat cent series that ran from 1909 to 1958. These coins are easily recognizable by their beautiful design. On the obverse, or front, you'll find the proud profile of President Abraham Lincoln. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust." On the left, Liberty. And to the right, 1957, the year of minting. Just below the date, you might spot a small letter. That little letter is the mint mark, and it tells us where the coin was made. For 1957, there were two possibilities: no letter, meaning it was minted in Philadelphia, or a small D, indicating it came from the Denver Mint. And trust me, those little letters matter more than you might think. Turn the coin over, and you'll see why it's called a wheat penny. Two graceful stalks of wheat curve up the sides, cradling the bold words, 1 cent and United States of America. Just above, the classic motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one. It's a design that symbolizes American growth, strength, and unity, and for collectors, it represents the end of an era. After 1958, the wheat design would be replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse we all recognize today. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The 1957 penny was produced in huge numbers, over 1 billion were struck between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. So yes, technically speaking, it's not rare in quantity. You can find them in pocket change even today. But what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is condition, rarity of variation, and the presence of minting errors. Let's start with condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Most coins in circulation fall somewhere in the 1 to 30 range, worn, scratched, dull. But if you happen to find a 1957 penny that looks brand new, like it just came out of the mint, it might be uncirculated. A coin with an MS65, MS66, or MS67 grade can be worth significantly more than a well-worn example. Then we come to the heart-pounding part, mint errors. That's right. Every now and then, something goes wrong at the mint. A coin might be struck off-center, resulting in a lopsided design. Or it might have a double die error, where elements of the design, like Liberty or the date, appear twice, slightly shifted. These are incredibly sought after by collectors. There are also repunched mint marks, where the D in 1957 D was punched more than once and slightly misaligned. That tiny detail could mean thousands of dollars in value. And then there are the wrong planchet errors, extremely rare cases where the coin was struck on a blank meant for a dime or a foreign coin. These coins are lighter or heavier than they should be, and they often look different in color or diameter. If you ever find a 1957 wheat penny that looks a bit off, don't ignore it. It might be something incredibly special. So what should you look for in your 1957 pennies? First, check the color and shine. A brilliant red penny with no wear is a strong candidate for higher value. Second, pull out a magnifying glass. Look for doubling in the text or details in Lincoln's face. Third, examine the mint mark closely. Is it repunched? Misaligned? Fourth, weigh the coin. It should be around 3.11 grams. If it's not, well, you may have found something truly rare. And don't just check one penny, check them all. These little treasures are hiding in the most unexpected places. People find valuable error coins at estate sales, in old inherited coin jars, even inside rolls from the bank. And what's incredible is that they often go unnoticed for decades, until someone with a keen eye spots the difference. Now for the moment that brings all the mystery and excitement together. Of all the 1957 wheat pennies out there, one specific coin stood out to collectors across the country. It wasn't just well preserved. It wasn't just rare. It had a perfect storm of features: flawless condition, a minting error, and a beautiful, bold strike that made it a showstopper. That single penny, a 1-cent piece most people would ignore, sold for the breathtaking amount of $76,700. That's right. $76,700. For a penny. That's more than a luxury car. More than a year at many universities. More than most people would dream a coin like this could be worth. So the next time someone tells you a penny is worthless, you might want to smile and check your pocket. Because within that one tiny cent could be a piece of forgotten history, and a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1957 wheat penny and love learning about the secrets coins can hold, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you never miss an episode. We've got more hidden treasures to uncover, more stories to tell, and more reasons to start looking a little closer at your change. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy hunting.